The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Thomas Jefferson. Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
We've got several videos coming up towards the end of this hour here today that are unedited other than cutting out all the cussing of police going crazy against citizens. New videos up at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com for radio listeners who want to go see them. TV viewers who are watching our video feeds will be able to see it right here on the radio at prisonplanet.tv. But the point is, we're also going to start highlighting good police officers. I've made this a very important directive with my reporters that when we find police doing the right thing or doing heroic things, we want to showcase that as well and model good behavior. And we have an example of that with our own Jason Burmis, who does reporting for us from time to time, at the Albany, New York, and the TSA comes over and says, it's against the law to videotape here. And they go, well, it's our policy, you can't. And then the sheriff's deputy shows up and says, no, it's a First Amendment right. They're allowed to videotape in here as long as they're not interfering with what you're doing. And then they're like, but he is interfering. Look, we're over here. And they go, no, you're interfering over here. That's what they do. They make a big scene, have a big pity party for themselves like drama queens, run over to you, and then make a big issue out of it. It's incredible. And Molly, we got two Mollies back there on the newspaper and in the graphics department, but one of the Mollies, and I'm going to go back out there with her, if not this week or next week, we're going to go out there with the whole crew. We wanted photos for the magazine of surveillance cameras. So she went downtown to take photos. She's the lady that takes like the photos you see, you know, around the office or of T-shirts, things like that. She's a great photographer. You know, the new photos you've seen of myself on the site. And she's there, and she's a, you know, well-dressed blonde, very polite, very nice. And they come out within like a minute at the federal building that's downtown with cameras everywhere and pedestrians everywhere. And she's out there taking photos, and they come out and say, you're not allowed to do that. It's against the law, which isn't true. Courts have ruled hundreds of times, literally, it's not. Everybody knows that. Supreme Court ruled again this week. And just 2 days ago on Monday. And she says, well, no, I just work for a local newspaper, and I'm just taking photos. And they go, well, you look shady. Get out of here. That's a quote. And she's a small woman. She left with a bunch of people around her in her face. Well, we're going back over there. Okay, because you're not, with your gang mentality, going to drive me off the First Amendment. We're not shooting over the fence at a submarine base when they're loading missiles in it. Stop acting like you're James Bond. Stop taking yourselves so serious, okay? You shove cameras in our face all day. We're shoving them in your face. You don't like being under scrutiny. That's why you're trying to color a law against us. And guess what? I'm not putting up with it anymore. 9 times out of 10, when I'm out videotaping stuff, police don't say, turn your cameras off. But I've had Austin cops many times, because I know when they're running a checkpoint or something, I'll get back 100 yards. I'll be on the shoulder. Well, it's in Police Day 2000. It's in some of our other films. Cops will walk over and say, hey, you can't videotape. And I go, yeah, I can, First Amendment. And they'll go, oh, yeah, the Russians going to get us. You know, like, oh, you're standing up for your rights. You're paranoid. Nobody's trying to take, well, you just tried to take my rights right there, bud. I mean, North Korea, you can't videotape the police. I don't live in North Korea. And look, cops, it's your rights, too. These Bill of Rights and Constitution get flushed down the toilet. You can kiss everything goodbye. The prosperity, your pension funds, everything. Okay? And I know most police actually get that now. But everybody better get it right now. Cops have got a dirty, hard job. I wouldn't want it. Let me tell you who I'm really angry at. It's the punk public who wants to sit around lazy and follow all these directives of bureaucrats and people in stores and everywhere. I mean, I've got to the point now, because I'm a very polite person. When somebody's rude to me at a restaurant, I get up and I leave. The guys have been with me a couple times at business meetings. If somebody's rude to me, I just get up and I leave. You guys can stay here and eat if you want. I'm leaving. I'm not eating here. You know why? Because I come from such a polite family that I watched my family my whole life get pushed around by people and let people be rude to them. I'm not living like that anymore. I'm not looking for trouble. In fact, I'll let people be rude to me a couple times and make sure they're not just having a bad day. They keep doing it, man. You're going to get talk right back at you. And, you know, people, you better treat other folks with respect or you're not going to be treated with respect. And I'm talking about myself included. I get rude sometimes, but I'm the first person to apologize for it. We're going to start being a free country again when we start acting like free people and not slaves. And when we start demanding some respect. And I'll tell you who we're demanding respect from. The videos are now pouring in because it takes folks, you know, days to get them uploaded and up. So many people are new at this, new reporters. There are dozens of videos now going up at Infowars.com, PrisonBlinded.com, of not just our reporters like David Ortiz or Jason Burma's doing some work for us out of New York, but other videos are coming in where people just go in, turn their camera on at the checkpoint, and you say, you are a public servant, your TSA site has been forced because it's the law to admit that I can film, this is a public place. Then they have the airport heads come out, you know, the guys in suits and say, hey, it's our policy. This is a private airport corporation. You take taxpayer money, you can't stop me. This is a public commons. I have a right. If you take any taxpayer money, I have a right. Then they try to say, well, you're soliciting. Kind of sneeze there, folks. You're soliciting. It's not soliciting if you're not selling something. If you're there telling people about freedom, your right of communication. Hey, the scanners can give you cancer. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. That's terrible. What do you mean, TSA? Let me tell you, I've been on the air with talk show hosts who hate the TSA. They're like, I'm glad they're getting 7-8-fold cancer at these places with these scanners, you know, at the 5 airports where they put them in 10 years ago. That's where they're really cooking them. And I'm like, I'm not glad they're dying. And I don't want that bad mojo, man. I'm not glad when anybody dies. Even really evil people, it's like, well, that evil's been removed from the world, but I don't take pleasure in it. So, you know, we're sitting here looking at this, and it's time to stand up to them. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and fly with my children. Because you know what? They have no future down the road if I don't just go ahead and throw them into the fray as well. You know, we've got to stop shying away from a political fight with these people. Because the TSA are just their mindless minions. The system wants to break your will. It's dog training, obedience training. They admit it is. It's all a fraud. Now, all of that said, we do have that footage, and I said I'd take some calls. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231 on any of these issues I've raised. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. But I really got angry at the end of the last hour because this is a big deal. And people will read the full letter and say, well, they're saying that another board has their regulatory authority. And then they also say they're getting it from the president. See, like they said, well, we get it from the president and the UN and NATO, and then we might come to Congress. You see how that works? And, oh, well, we're allowed to shut down power plants that aren't owned by General Electric without a law. Oh, we're allowed to come after your guns. That's the big headline today. You know, top firearms expert, NRA, others are coming out. They're going to just use orders, not laws, orders. Well, that's what they call it, a dictator. They dictate. Dictation. Your secretary takes dictation and send a thank you card to Bob Johnson. Bob, thank you for the fruitcake. Look forward to seeing you at church next week. I'm dictating. Dictator. Dictate. They tell you. You do what they say. Well, now the TSA is coming out. There's so many examples of this. And they're saying, you know what, we're not going to come to these hearings. TSA claims it is above congressional oversight. Agency head refuses to appear at transportation hearing. The TSA has refused to attend a House transportation hearing this week with agency head John Pistoli, who been caught doing nothing but lying to Congress before. He should be in contempt. Personally refusing to appear and declaring that the congressional committee has no jurisdiction over the TSA. The hearing scheduled for Thursday will be held by the subcommittee on aviation, a part of the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee. It is titled, How Best to Improve Our Nation's Airport Passenger Security System Through Common Sense Solutions. Well, common sense is anathema to tyrants. Oh, it's common sense for tyrants to dominate and break everybody's will. Headed up by Representative Thomas Petrie. I want to get them on. It will examine the impact that the regulations and policies of the Transportation Security Administration have on aviation passenger experience and the free flow of aviation commerce. Oh, no, they're going to read all the some complaints at them? According to a brief on the subcommittee's website, the TIC's website indicates the TSA head, John Pistoli, has been asked to testify at the hearing. However, a statement issued by the TSA's website made it clear that neither Pistoli nor any TSA official, not servant, official, intends to attend the hearing. The statement reads, by U.S. House of Representatives rules, which state the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee has no jurisdiction over Transportation Security Administration, no representative from TSA will be present at the subcommittee on aviation hearing scheduled for November 29th. So they spin it saying, well, General Congress doesn't, only maybe one committee. That's how they do this, to take the general power of the House. One member of the House should be able to call anyone they want. And if you don't come, you're in contempt. See, they don't want Congress having any power. So just like we have the states stand up and demand the globalists be kicked out, we need to have Congress. That's the whole move. Stand up and kick out the Federal Reserve. Stand up and tell Obama, you're not shutting down our power plants. You're not going after the guns. You're not going to just ban all semi-autos and say it's a rule-making thing, which they're getting ready to do. That's in the news today. You know you're not. Congress better do it. They better do it. We'll be back. A little over a year ago, I began to do a lot of research into why, even if I had a pretty good-sized meal, that I was still starving. And my research led me to a well-known fact that most of the soils that we grow our crops on here in the United States and across the industrialized world are almost completely depleted of almost all of the key minerals and trace elements that our bodies need to rebuild themselves, fight off cancer, and be healthy. I then searched out the best vitamin and mineral company out there and discovered Youngevity. The Youngevity products are designed to give you the real nutrition you need, and once you've got that, you don't have to eat as much to be satisfied. I've lost 37 pounds in 2 months, simply getting the vitamins and minerals I need. Check it out for yourself. It's incredible. Go to InfoWarsTeam.com today and order your first canister of Beyond Tangy Tangerine Complete Multivitamin Mineral Complex Dietary Supplement. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
I don't mean to be nosy, but do you have the 37 food items you can't get in the coming disaster and may not survive without? As you already know, something big is about to hit the U.S., and you have got to be prepared. Did you know that your local grocery store only keeps a 3-day supply of food on hand? So if there's any interruption in our fragile food supply chain or even a hint of a crisis, then the 3-day supply at your local grocery store will be gobbled up by the mob in minutes, and you and your family could be in serious trouble. That's why my friend just created a free video at 37items.com that reveals the 37 critical items you should hoard now before it's too late. Go watch the important video at 37items.com to discover the 37 things you can't buy after a disaster and may not survive without. I'm not sure how long the video will be online, so go to 37items.com before it's gone forever. Again, that's 37items.com.
In a coming-apart world, you need something to keep it tied together. That something is Atwood Rope, the highest quality rope made in the USA, from exotic braids for military, rescue, arborists, shipyards, tow line, or boating. Quality rope at affordable prices you and your customers can depend on. Find a dealer or shop online at atwoodrope.net. Enter promo code RADIO to receive 100 feet of 550 paracord free with purchase. Atwood Rope, working to keep the world tied together.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize